Minutes of question.
I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today. We appreciate you participating. It's amazing to me that the American people have any faith left in our criminal justice system at all. The news from earlier this week definitely didn't help. We're here today to talk about clemency in the case of Mr. Informus. Yet it's hard to talk about anything other than the elephant in the room, which I believe is a two-tier justice system. Just yesterday, the Judiciary Committee heard from John Durham, and I think in many ways it confirmed the FBI and the DOJ are corrupt. And they're willing to go on political witch hunts on certain political parties, even if there's no grounds for doing so. We all know about the double jeopardy clause, the Fifth Amendment. So, Mr. Tolman, I want to hear from you on this. Could re-prosecuting someone after they've been granted clemency be viewed as a double jeopardy issue?
Especially in this case, I would say you're going to have arguments that technically it might not apply because the jury didn't reach a verdict, but the jury was impaneled and the trial did occur on those same counts, and the judge clarified that he was sentenced on the counts he was not convicted on.
Thank you for that. Hypothetically speaking, and this is for any of the panelists that would like to answer, if someone were to fail paying $100,000 in taxes and own a firearm when they're a known drug user, would that person serve time in prison?
Having prosecuted hundreds of those cases, I'm not aware of any instance in which a diversion would be granted under DOJ policy, and I reviewed several thousand similar cases and did not see diversion as an available option from DOJ, and each one served on average of 39 months in prison.
If I could speak to that.
Absolutely.
I don't have an answer for your question because I don't have the data, but I think that's a problem too, that we don't have good data about the way pleas are negotiated. They're national. I've heard this discussed. I heard some of Mr. Durham's testimony, and I know people have strong opinions about what's normally done and what's not, and it's all over the place. And that's a problem. That one of the things that has been mentioned is the Fixed Clemency Act that was brought last year. Section 7 of that act would require a report on U.S. attorney charging and plea practices to be made. And I think it's high time to do that, because when we discuss things like this, it would be great to know what's actually being done in the shadowy world of plea agreements.
Mr. Osler, as I was having hearings throughout the district last year, one of the big concerns of people was a weaponized DOJ, a fear for speaking up and being targeted. Mr. Berman, would you like to try to address the question as well?
Sure, I'm very inclined to agree with Professor Osler that we need much more data, particularly in the tax setting. Is such an example where there's just so many laws that enable prosecutors with completely unregulated discretion. Should I pursue this as a civil matter? Should I pursue it as a criminal matter? And it's entirely appropriate that there are people concerned that that choice will be influenced by factors that shouldn't be relevant to the operation of our justice system. And I think the lack of transparency we have when it comes to prosecutorial discretion across the board really contributes to an understandable and I think sort of highly problematic concern that it's only the wrong factors that are shaping prosecutorial discretion. And then I will say that this is part of the concern I have with DOJ more generally, is they then will defend themselves on in particular cases and say, no, only the right factors were here, but without a record, without all the data that we need to make those judgments, we have to take their word for it when we can't sort of see the work.
And so these are the charges for Hunter Biden, and we all know he got a slap on the wrist. But a while ago when the ranking member was speaking, these were the things that he said the reason Mr. Informus got a pass was he was white, he was wealthy, he was well-connected, and had direct contact to the president's desk. Do you think in some ways Hunter Biden got a pass because of what they're accusing Mr. Informus of having? Anybody willing to answer that?
The only thing I would say is there should be outrage among especially inner-city prosecutions that have occurred by DOJ for the similar gun charges, for example. Diversion is not an option, and if you're not Hunter Biden or you have the Biden name or you have money or resources, it goes to the heart of what I think the professors are saying too, is a justice system that is geared towards favoritism and now towards politics more than it is towards justice and fairness.
So true, Mr. Tolman. I'm running out of time, but as we think about blind justice very often in those scales, we see the statue. The terrifying thing for me, for the American people, is when it's laser focused on political opponents. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.